For you tonight. A lot of very important people for you to meet. But first, I'd like to call one of our past presidents, James Sidler, up to give you some information that we just received.
In June 2009, Jolene Reynolds stopped to introduce herself to B.J. Carew at the Ladies' Wine Group. Talk of politics surfaced rapidly. Finding a commonality, about a week later, Jolene and B.J. met with several others. A couple of organizational meetings were held. A membership party on July 20th, 2009 was held, and here we are, the Republican Club at Heritage Ranch. I tell you this to speak in honor of B.J. Carew. Some of you know that her health has been declining, and her daughter Paige and son-in-law Adam just moved her this past Friday to the Houston area in their beautiful new home there. Saturday at dinner time, B.J. had a massive stroke. She was taken off life support this afternoon a little before 4 o'clock and passed away this afternoon a little before 4:30. Paige says to tell you, B.J. is at Margaritaville with Jimmy Buffett drinking a margarita and making America great again. I ask for your prayers for Paige and for her loving family.
Okay, one of our special founders. So we have that on our minds tonight as we move forward. So we will now have our presentation of the colors.
Please stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. So presenting the pledges tonight was Tim Bork, who's our secretary. Excellent board member of ours. We're glad to have him with us. So we are, if you would, remain standing. We will have the invocation by another board member, Ron Samuels.
Please bow your head. Father, we have many things to be thankful for. We're thankful for people like PJ and what she did to help our community and the spirit that she showed all of us. We're thankful for the many blessings that you give us, the beautiful day, the fellowship that we have. We ask that we all be a good witness in your eyes and in the eyes of others. We ask that you bless this food to the nourishment of our body and those to thy service. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ron. Please be seated. So, tonight we have our forums, and if you are an elected official or a candidate running for office and you are part of the forum tonight, then you don't need to come up and be introduced twice. So this is for people who are not part of the program tonight. So we would ask any elected officials or candidates who are not part of the program tonight to come up and introduce themselves to our wonderful audience. So if you would, just kind of come up at that side over there, and right around here we've got a microphone for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Custer, and I'm your councilman for seat number 2. Thank you for your vote in the past. It's an honor for me to represent you, and look forward to getting better acquainted. If you have questions or concerns, please see me tonight, and I'll pass them on to the mayor.
Good afternoon. My name is Sammy Knapp. I'm Constable Precinct 3. I live right down the street. I'm your neighbor. 45-year law enforcement. My 3rd term unopposed. I'm very proud to serve the community. And I'm endorsing my Chief Deputy for Precinct 1.
Howdy. I'm Larry Little. I'm on the Town Council, seat 4. Thank all of you for your votes in the past, and look forward to doing the best job I can to make Fairview great and keep it great.
There you go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am Constable Knapp's Chief Deputy, and Constable, I appreciate your endorsement. It's been a pleasure working with you, Constable Knapp, for over 10 years now, and I am running for Constable Precinct 1 in 2022. And professionalism, integrity, and progress have always been key in my law enforcement career. And as we know, society changes. We can turn on the news and we see the changes that we face daily. But our values don't. Our Christianity, our party values don't change. And we strive to keep it that way at Precinct 3, and I want to bring that to Precinct 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now, we've been waiting to eat. When the waiter comes to your table, be sure to let him or her see whether you have a green or an orange band. They know how many chicken dinners and how many fish dinners are to be at each table, but they don't know exactly who's getting which ones. The armband tells them that. Enjoy your meal. I am aware of the fact that some of you are still finishing dessert, and so please indulge us. We take a lot of notes and listen to all of you about our programs. One of the requests is that we needed to kind of keep the program moving and not take so much time. So if you don't mind to indulge us just a bit, maybe you can finish your dessert and we can get started with the program and we can make some of the people happy. Okay? Thank you. In our, especially, I spend a lot of time talking to our wonderful membership director, Ron Samuels, and we have a lot of new members. And one of the pieces of feedback that have come back to us that's very important is that a lot of our members think that, the visible things that we do, the things that they see, they have a tendency to think that that's all we are. So, obviously these programs that we put on every month, the dinners that we have, during election cycles, we get yard signs out into the yards, but we are really so much more than that. We are very fortunate to have a large group of volunteers. We're a large organization, and we have a large percentage of people helping us. And that enables us to do a lot of things that don't really get publicized, but we are heavily involved. And I just want to kind of hit a few points to give you the breadth and scope of our organization and who we are, what we do, besides these wonderful dinners and programs that we put on, and the other things that we do. So with that, I thought I would show you, this is our organizational chart. There are 9 board of directors. It is my goal to make sure that one way or another, we get all 9 of them up here so that you can see them and relate to them. And I'm not going to go through our goals and our objectives, and I'm not going to name all the names in the interest of time. But what I am going to tell you is all of this information is available on our website, and I certainly would encourage you at your leisure to go to our website and study not only this organizational chart, but the things that we do. But if we could, look at the next chart. So we, like many organizations, have a secretary, a treasurer. We also have a historian parliamentarian. So to keep us on point as to who we are and what we're all about. And these boxes underneath those names, those are all assignments that we have that people can work on, things that we can do, things that you can do. So, you know, we all have talents and skills. And what's important is that if you want to help and participate, we have an assignment for you. And we just need to know what your skill sets are. If I can see the next. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is Joan is a chairman of our monthly events. She works very, very hard at this. She's got a great team of people assisting her. And all of those different functions that you see and those names that you see are people that work to make these events happen. And we plan out events, we're planned out really all the way for the rest of the year. But we did send a survey out to all of our membership to make sure that we were presenting issues that were important to you to present. So next month, for example, we'll have a whole piece on COVID that Joan will talk to a little later. Clayton Barnes is the chairman of our communications and marketing team. Now, for those of you who have IT skills, we certainly can use those skills if you would just care to lend them to us. But at any rate, we have our website, we have our database, we are communicating with our membership. You all are getting the blast emails that Clayton's team puts out 3 or 4 a week of critical issues. So please take a look at that website. Again, we manage that database that has all of our names and critical information about us in there. And we need people to help maintain and make sure that our record keeping is up to date. Next slide, please. This is Ron Samuels. He's the chairman of our membership team. And the organization, we just had this past Saturday, just to give you an idea, we have the newcomers that moved into Heritage Ranch. Jane Sidler works with Ron Samuels on that particular program. But we meet with the newcomers, tell them about the Republican Club, about our goals and objectives, what we're doing, and endeavor to get them to not only join our club, but to participate in some of the critical tasks that we have. The legislative team is headed up by Ben Brown, and Ben works very closely with both local, county, and state officials. There are 10 critical pieces of legislation that we're supporting this year. All of those pieces were handed to us, or I should say given to us, by Alan West, who is the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. And so if your passion is right to life, if your passion is to see something done about border control, if your passion has to do with election integrity, and I can go on and on and on, but Ben will speak to these issues also. The point is, there is a function, there's a place, there's a piece of this particular organization that can be available to you. Okay? And that's it. Now, I went very, very quickly in the interest of time. I mean, I could spend 2 hours talking about this organization, but just want to say how hard this group works to make certain that we are a voice to be reckoned with in the community and in the state and get our points across. Now, Ted Puches, our past president, is in charge of staffing of this organization, and we have some critical needs, and I'm hoping that some of you might be able to help with that. So, Ted.
Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate the time to be able to address our membership. I'd like to ask a couple of questions to kind of kick this off, please. First of all, how many Raise your hands in the audience if you have full-time jobs. Not many, not many. Okay, all right. You'll see why I ask these questions, okay? The other thing is I'd like to know how many of you have grandchildren and you are full-time babysitters, which means they're at your house every day and you're babysitting them. Not many. Okay. And now for the audience, how many of you play golf every day? Wow, you know, we don't have too many of those. You know what that tells me? That tells me, believe it or not, that you have some extra time on your hands. Right? So you've asked your own questions. I personally don't believe in asking for volunteers. Those of you who are in the military or have been in other organizations know what that means. You volunteer, and before you know it, you're over your head and everything. But what we're doing is we're asking for some assistance. In my previous comments, and we're not looking for full-time employment, okay? I don't think anybody in this room wants to do that again. They've lived through that once in their life, or maybe multiple times. But we really are looking for, give us a couple hours a month. Right? Once a month, twice a month. As much time as you think that you can afford to spend helping us. Now, we've experienced substantial growth in this organization over the last couple of years. We're approaching 500 active members. Clap your hands if you get a healthy laugh. Those of you who have participated, those of you who are on Ron Sandals' team, he's done an incredible job with this team in being able to help us grow this organization. But because of each and every one of you, talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends. One of the things I keep on getting is I'd like to join your club, but you have to be a resident of Heritage Ranch. You do not have to be a resident of Heritage Ranch to join our club. We have a special category of individuals. They're called sponsors. And some of the political individuals who hold office here, excuse me, are sponsors, which means that they participate in all of our activities and do everything with the exceptions of two things. One, they cannot vote, and two, they cannot hold an office on the board. Other than that, they enjoy everything else, right? So, with that being said, right, as you see up here, we need some assistance, right? Again, remember, give us an hour a month, 2 hours a month, an hour a week. Give us 8 hours a month. And I leave it up to you, okay? You know your schedule's better, right? The marketing execution team, right? As we sit here today and we have this nice dinner and you're all sitting at nice tables, right? We're fortunate that when we have a dinner, the HOA cleans the tables up. When we have meetings, okay, it is the responsibility of this team to be able to put all the decorations out, to be able to pick all the decorations up. Right? For that, we need, according to Randy, right, probably about 6 people to help her with that, okay? If we can get 6 individuals once a month at one of these meetings, after the meeting is over, giving us 10 or 15 minutes, guess what? The job is done, everybody's happy, everything's put away, we're ready for the next one. So we're looking for individuals to be able to do that. On special events, right, we are active in a number of special events with the county and on our own, okay? As some of you will remember the Collin County GOP Golf Tournament last year. All right, we were heavily involved in that. And we're involved in visits to the VA hospital, collecting items for the hospital. For the Fisher House, those of you who do not know what the Fisher House is, that's when a veteran has to spend an extended stay in one of the hospitals. The Fisher House will actually bring his family to the Fisher House, give them a room similar to a Hilton Inn or a Marriott Courtyard, and provide the family with food. And in fact, what they've done is they put something together with DISD so that the children can go to school. Right? That's all free of charge. Right? The Fisher family provides all the funds. But in doing that, we need to organize that. We need people, individuals to be able to spend some time helping people like Helga, who's in charge of that. Right? Contact the VA, contact the individuals who say they want to go, make sure the schedules are put in place. It doesn't take a lot of time. Couple hours, If you give a couple of hours to 5 people, that's 10 hours. Suddenly you have a full day's worth of activity that's taken care of. Our Lincoln Day dinner, all right, as you may or may not know, Lincoln Day for us, for Collin County is the largest fundraising event the county has, does that once a year. All right, we need individuals to be able to help gather people who want to make reservations, all right, to help the county go ahead and get things organized. We need some individuals on that. It's an annual event, so guess what? You know, it happens once a year. It's not like you're working every month and every day, right? But we need some folks to be able to help staff that and to help Ben with that, right? We've got the flags of honor, right? Henry can vouch for this. The town of Fairview puts up the flags of honor. Also, the Veterans Center of North Texas puts up about 1,000 flags, right? And to do that, they need some volunteers. 1 day, 2 days, okay, half a day, couple hours. You know, some of that just to plant flags in the ground, some of that just to hang a tag on a flag to be able to commemorate a veteran who's passed away in honor of them, right? Legislative and campaigns, we need a consistent contact with Collin County, right? To be able to go to some of the Collin County meetings, to be able to gather some information, take some minutes for that. Lovejoy ISD, you know, if your passion is, hey, my grandkids need to get a great education, be able to help us keep track of what's going on in the ISD, and for us to be able to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to affect that. Jack mentioned earlier monument protection, elections, immigration and security, infrastructure, Second Amendments, campaign committees. Right? These are all things that we'd like you to take what you've done in the past, right? And many of you have been very, very successful in your careers, right? Bring that to us. Right? I mean, you know, we get people tell us, well, you ought to do this, and you should do that, and you should do this. You know what my answer to that is? That's great. Why don't you take that and bring a plan back to us? Why don't you volunteer to do this? Again, we're not asking full time, a couple hours a month, a couple hours a week. But if we spread that out over enough people, it makes it manageable. Thank you very much. All right, I look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Yes. Now, are you ready for the forum after all of that? Okay, I do wish you would consider what he was talking about, but I think you came here to listen to the candidates. We are going to start off with Fairview town. We still have, I think, 2 outstanding candidates. They haven't arrived yet, so let's hope they will. But nevertheless, let me tell you once again the importance of the local candidates. As you know, our government is such that they are the closest to us, right? In other words, they don't sit in Austin and they don't sit in Washington. They're right here in Fairview and Collin County. So that's one of the big reasons why they are important. They're closest to our pocketbooks. They're closest to the quality of life that we have here. And I hope that you'll listen to them and think seriously. We have a few contested races and a few uncontested races. So we will begin with Fairview, and I'd like to ask the candidates whose signs are up here to please come and take place at the table. Cynthia Brugge and Henry Lesner as candidates for mayor. And Ricardo Doy, Ken Logston, and Rich Connolly. Now they are not running against one another. Ricardo Doy is running on seat 3. Ken Logston, seat 5, and Rich Connolly, seat 1. Actually, Ricardo Doy did have, and she is on the ballot, Jeanette Grazioli. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, she is no longer actively campaigning. So we did not leave her out, and she did not choose not to come, but she is not an active candidate. So in order to give you a chance to learn about your candidates, we will have each one of them tell about themselves, a minute and a half. How much can you tell in a minute and a half? Well, they have to talk fast. And also, they will answer one question each. But we are going to start with the candidates for mayor. And I would ask you, please, it's up to you if you want to sit or stand, but I think it's preferable for the folks out there to stand up so they can see you behind the signs. Now, because we have an ambitious program, and we have not given them much time, we are going to strictly keep time. So here's how it goes. And I did send them a communication about this, so it's not something new. When they have 15 seconds left, John will give them a yellow card. When it's time to stop, he will ring the bell. When anyone chooses to run over, he'll give the noise, and the microphones will go dead. So you will not be here forever. We thought that would add a little humor, but it is true, right? Okay, so if I will read the question or give the statement what they are to do, and they will proceed. So we will keep the times. Okay. We're ready to begin. Are you ready? All right. As I said, we will begin with the candidates for mayor. And here is what you are to do first. Give your self-introduction, including your background and experience, which would make you the best candidate for the position of mayor. Cynthia, will you start, please? You have a minute and a half, I'm sorry. No, we'll wait until your first word goes.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I'm nervous because I only have 90 seconds to tell you everything about myself. I decided that I was going to approach this by telling you what I love, what I hate, and what I want. And this is the byproduct of my time as a councilwoman, which was in the last 2 years. I love making decisions in alignment with the vision of Fairview. I hate it when I'm told there's nothing we can do about a situation. I want a mayor who will realign the vision for Fairview with the citizens who decided to make Fairview their home. I love protecting our quality of life. I hate to vote on important decisions without having the background and the facts first. I want a mayor who thanks council members, planning and zoning members, and other community servants when they retire from community service. I love getting to know the people who are using their creativity and intelligence to problem solve and establish public policy. I hate it when I realize that I passed the development of a property that is creating detrimental side effects. I want to keep our freedom. I love transparency. I hate it when I know that there are things I'm not being told by people I trust. I want the wall to be closed down the border. The deep state starts in municipal government. I think we need a new mayor. Not because he's dishonest or anything like that, but because I just think we need to change. And I'd love to be the mayor of Fairview.
Thank you. The next candidate is Henry Lesner. Whenever you're ready to begin, we will start the clock.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for turning out tonight for this annual event, and I look forward to whatever Joan's tricky questions are going to be for the politicians up here in a minute. But my name is Henry Lesner, and I'm your mayor. Nancy and I are 31-year residents of Fairview, having lived on both sides of town. So we've had a big lot, big house, and now we're over on the west side of town in the more dense area. So I have experience living on both sides of town. A little bit about me: I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I was a registered professional engineer, and I gave up my license a couple of years ago because I didn't use it. But for the past 15 years, I've been a partner in a financial services company, and I am a certified financial planner. So I've passed P test and a CFP test. I've been involved in leadership roles in Connolly County for as long as I've lived here. In fact, a couple of years ago, I was named one of the 21 leaders for the 21st century in Connolly County, which is quite an honor. I was very honored at that. I've been on the board or board president of many of the human services and arts organizations, nonprofits in Connolly County, and I've performed some similar roles in the United Methodist Church at the global level, actually. I've been involved in Fairview political activities since I moved here. Initially, I was on the technology committee and helped bring AT&T DSL. And I've been council member for 8 years, and now mayor too, and I look forward to continuing to serve you as your mayor. Thank you.
Now we'll have questions for the two of you, and we'll start. I guess I should have told you can keep standing. Well, I shift the questions, so I give each one a chance to answer first. So it doesn't seem like somebody's always the second one. So you will begin this time, Henry Lesner. Here is the question. Oh, well, either way, they can see you better in the back if you stand up.
Very good.
Yeah.
Is this on? Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure they can hear you, because these are sensitive, but you have to hold it like a rock star.
I'm a singer in my church also.
Okay. What do you see as the greatest challenge facing Fairview, and how will you, as the future mayor, meet this challenge? 1.5 minutes. How will you meet this greatest challenge that you see ahead of you?
So the greatest challenge I see for Fairview coming up, and you've heard me talk about this, it has to do with development, but specifically roads. I've made the comment that sometimes I feel like we are surrounded. You know, we have very active economic development up in McKinney, very active economic development down in Allen, and I've actually been told by someone on the county court that we are in the way. And I don't like that. So I'm worried about how roads are going to be done. We are going to end up with expanded roads out here one of these days, but I'm trying to put that off as much as possible and do the things that we need to do. The development that's going to occur over on the far west side of town along 75, there's some roads over there that need to be done and built. Fairview Parkway, the Ridgeview Overpass, Frisco Road relocation, those things need to happen. But if we can put off expansion of 1378, expansion of County Road 317 over here, anywhere around here, I want to try to put that off. We are being pressed by the McKinney Airport. TxDOT is doing some things up there, and you probably know that I was able to negotiate something to extend the runway to the north. I worked that out with my new friend George Fuller up in McKinney. And so it's important that we keep involved in what's going on around here from TxDOT, all the other cities, and make sure that we have a voice in what goes on with our roads in Fairview. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry Lesner. Okay, Cynthia Brugge, either you can step there or either side. Fine. Whenever you're ready, 1.5 minutes, the same question.
Whenever I was elected as a councilwoman 2.5 years ago, my biggest concern at that time was rampant growth. And I believe it is our enemy. We have so many people moving here. And if you drive down any access road, just about anywhere in Plano, McKinney, and Frisco, there's apartments everywhere. We are in jeopardy of having so many temporary households where people can move here and take advantage of all the services that are provided by our municipalities. Our schools are getting crowded, and as you guys probably recognize, whenever the judges came and spoke to us last November, they are working so many hours that they only have 50 minutes per case to hear a case in court, and then they have to work at night to deal with their caseload. The sheriff was at one of our Republican meetings, and he said that apartments are affecting the cost of crime, public safety, our police department, our sheriff's department, but it goes further than that. You know, it's our roads, it's our courthouses. We're going to have more bond elections. And so we need to be adamant that we don't want apartments in Fairview. We have 750 apartments. I think that's all we need in Fairview, and that's what I believe we need to do, is to figure out how to prevent that.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Oh, Cynthia, you get the next question, number 2. You can stand wherever you want to be, and you'll be followed by Henry Lesner. Okay. The second question is, it's not really long, but it's a little longer. As Fairview faces the need for additional tax dollars, or dollars in tax revenue, to meet future capital needs, such as the extension of Fairview Parkway, resolution of drainage issues, the replacement of Hart Road, and to provide future operational funds for adding EMT staff to Fire Station Number 1. What is your position with regard to keeping Fairview's tax rate at or below the state no new tax rate limit? If you want me to repeat it, I can repeat it.
I think I've got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we talk about economic development and have a lot in the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, I was putting a pencil to the ideas around the commercial district, because some of you may not know, and Henry would probably tell you more, but Fairview Parkway is going to get built. We had a grant from the federal government of $3 million, and we're going to have to come up with the other 20%, which is $600,000, and I don't know if that'll be enough to complete the road. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to work out. One of my issues is that we don't have a lot of cash, and we don't like to use our cash. But we have a residency that doesn't like to borrow money either. So it kind of puts us in a catch-22, and of course you don't want us to raise the tax rate. So, you know, it's like, you know, a puzzle trying to figure out how to work all that. And when I put a number to the revenue, a few years ago, whenever the capital improvement plan was made, the Fairview Parkway and the infrastructure was $20 million. And with all the cost increases, I'm anticipating it's going to be more like $30 million. And the debt service, if we pay it out over 15 years, is about $2.5 million. And right now, our town only brings in $4.5 million. The anticipation is that we'll get $3.4 million for leaving our tax rate the same if we have $1 billion of new tax base. So if there's not a lot of net income, when you consider that if you add the additional people, if you add all the thousands of more people to the commercial district that is planned, I don't think the extra money is going to pay for it. So we're going to have to really cash in on the sales tax. That's our rate of hope.
Thank you very much. Henry Lesner. Yes, do you want me to repeat it, or do you have the picture?
I think I have the gist of it, so thank you.
Okay. Anytime.
So since I've been on the council, which is now 10 years, we have lowered our tax rate from 0.365 to 0.347. Our debt, which we just issued, the last debt we're going to issue for a while, we did the fire station, and we did the second water system over here. Next fiscal year, our debt, which is now at $28 million, will start going down. So on economic development, those things, the road we're talking about, Frisco Road, we're talking about relocation. $3 million from the federal government, which by the way, Van Taylor helped us get that. And secondly, The $1 million that we need to make that up is coming out of development impact fees. It's not tax dollars, it's dollars that developers pay to the town for sewage and roads and water every time they build something. So we have a whole bunch of money sitting there to do this for that very purpose. We formed a TIF, a tax increment finance zone, a number of years ago. That money can be used to help develop some of that stuff. But the one who's going to pay the most over there is whoever does the development. We talk about the 380 agreement, where we have Fairview Town Center. The town got $48 million worth of tax value out of that, property tax value. The town right now gets $1 million a year out of that, no matter what happens. My point is, we are in really, really good financial shape from a town, almost a AA plus bond rating. We are not in any dire straits. Adding the Billingsley organization over there increases our property tax value by 50%. Big deal.
Thank you, sir. Okay. The next question has to do with working together with neighbors and neighboring governments. So we're shifting from finances. Yes, it's your turn. Yeah. Here comes the question. Fairview is one governing entity interacting with state, county, and surrounding town and city governments. How can Fairview improve its communication and cooperation with neighboring government entities to enhance Fairview?
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so I think this is one of my big strong suits here, by the way. Because of my non-profit type work, I know the leaders in all the towns around here. I know the mayors, I even know the ones in Dallas. But I made the comment about the airport. I worked up with George Fuller and Paul Grimes, who's the town manager up in McKinney. I mentioned already, Van Taylor has helped us with the grant on Frisco Road relocation. You've heard me talk about Van Taylor and now John Cornyn helping us with the Corps of Engineers study that we're doing on Sloan Creek and Wilson Creek. So I know these people, I deal with them, they listen when I send them stuff. I send Candy and Angela stuff, I tell these guys, all the time. And they listen to what I say because they know that I pay attention to this stuff. So we have an issue going on with Lovejoy. You know, I know Dennis Womack like this. And Dennis and I talk about this stuff all the time. We're talking about how we can use the police, how they're going to change their school system as far as consolidating. And by the way, if you want to help Lovejoy, you talk to the folks in Austin. It is not Lovejoy, it's Austin who's causing these problems. So that's a big deal. Y'all can help them out with if you want to. Anyway, I think that's enough said. I know these people. I work with them. They know me. I've been doing it for years and years and years. Some of them are my best friends. Thank you.
Thank you. The final part of this is, oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, please. All right. You want me to repeat?
No, I'm just sad that I don't know everybody, because, I mean, he's been doing this for 10 years, right?
Then
I don't think he has an advantage of this. Not all there is about being a mayor is that, no,
you can be creative and tell us how you're going to do it.
Well, I'll tell you this, is that I've been the most irritating council member that they probably had for at least the last 10 years, maybe 20 or 30 years. A lot of the reason is because every time I'd have a question or I'd have a funny feeling that I wasn't getting the whole picture, I would start calling people until I found somebody that could give me the answer.
Microphone.
So, a good example is whenever TxDOT wouldn't give us a left turn, and they were going to take our left turn away. So I called them. I said, hey, I saw all this publication about citizens being welcome to call you and talk with you about the plans. I did that, and I got an engineer, and he invited me to a Zoom call. So on that Zoom call, he explained to me that the reason that they were taking the left turn away is because our town government had told them that we were going to be paying for Frisco Road and Fairview Parkway, and that we weren't going to need the left turn. Well, so I thought that was very interesting because we didn't have the funding for it. And so I explained to them that we don't have the funding, could they please pay for the road for us? Well, I think they might have eventually because they were feeling pretty guilty about the fact that they were taking that left turn away. It kind of, stopped their whole decision making. But now, because of our town manager being really forward-thinking, she's been looking for grants. And she actually successfully had a grant landed for this $3 million for Fairview Parkway, for Frisco Road. So we actually may get bailed out of that situation. But I have to tell you, they can't take our left turn away if we don't have Frisco Road. And I don't like it when I find out that we're telling TxDOT that we're already going to do something when we don't have the funding for it. So funding has to happen. And so, for example, the impact fees that we're talking about taking for Frisco Road, I never got asked. Have you guys been asked whether that's where you want $1 million of our cash to be spent? These decisions are being made unilaterally. And that's why I'm running for mayor. I think we need you involved more.
Now I'd like you to take the next 1.5 minutes to make your final appeal. You're on, Cynthia Ruby.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there's an elephant in the room. We have 2,000 apartments zoned in our commercial district. And our developer has figured out there's a gold rush on apartments. The other candidates in the other cities are all campaigning that they're not going to have any more apartments. But we have this amazing developer, and we talk about how great they are, but they don't care that we don't want 2,000 apartments. If they're not going to get rid of the apartments, we shouldn't fund their development. And that's the way I feel about it. I don't want to borrow $30 million and enable them to run our city. And everybody in this room, if you're being honest, you don't want 2,000 apartments in Fairview. It's going to affect our schools. We're going to have tons of traffic. We're going to have thousands of people moving here that aren't making a commitment for more than 6 months to a year to live here. And it's going to cost us a lot of extra money per person. They could also control the vote. If we get 2,000 apartments, we could have 4,000 people. If we get 4,000 apartments, we could have 8,000 people. We need to think about the global picture here. There is a lot at stake. It's not worth it to lose our lifestyle. If we want to preserve our lifestyle. I had somebody tell me last night that she lives at the Cortana apartments. They're starting to see a deterioration there. I'm telling you, please band with me, vote for me, and let's fight apartments together.
Your final appeal.
So I have 1.5 minutes, not just 1 minute. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Giving you an extra little.
All right, first just correct something. It's 1,999 apartments. That was grandfathered vested rights to the developer back in 2003. It's by city ordinance. If we change that, and by the way, we can, we will be sued and we will lose. I don't guarantee much in my business. I guarantee we will lose. So just be aware of that. If they want to put more in, they have to come to planning and zoning, they have to come to council. But to change that, I don't want to pay that money. We've already paid some money out from Cynthia anyway. I have the experience, the knowledge, the working relationships with other political leaders and staff in our traveling cities, in Austin, down in, up in DC. We've already said that. I have proven results from the time that I've been on the council. I am open, I'm honest about what I believe needs to be done to make Fairview an even better place. I'm the mayor for all residents in town. I never have ethical or conflict of interest problems like my opponent has. I'm requesting your vote to continue representing you as the mayor. And I just thank you for being here tonight. I'll be around if you want any more detail about the stuff I'm saying. I'd be more than happy to tell you. So have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Two fine candidates. We'll have them stay seated there, and if they are around later, you can go up to them and ask them additional questions. We're moving on to the other three gentlemen that are sitting here, and they are, as I said, all running virtually unopposed. I don't really like to say that because Jeanette Grazioli, her name will still be on the ballot, by the way. It's impossible to remove it beyond a certain point. But she truly told me personally that she is not actively campaigning due to personal reasons. So the first person we'll hear from Ricardo Doy. Ricardo, I'd like you to give some background of yourself so we kind of get to know you a little bit better. And you actually have 2 minutes for this because we did not anticipate to ask questions, thinking we would have more candidates on the whole field. So you're on. You can tell us whatever you want to in 2 minutes. The same thing goes on if you don't want to hear the results of your overrun.
I do not want to experience that. Good evening, thank you. First of all, thanks for our hosts for graciously accepting us here for this forum. I'm Ricardo Doy. I'm currently in seat 3. I'm also Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm running for re-election for seat 3. A little bit of my background, being in Fairview for about 14 years when Debbie, my wife, and I moved from Florida. I'm a civil engineer. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's of science degree in civil engineering. And my specialty is land development, which is basically subdivisions like the ones you're leaving here. And with that, storm drainage systems, which happens to be the topic of the day here in Fairview. I have met personally, along with the mayor, with some communities and have discussed drainage issues along town. Have participated in solutions as well, and so we're still in the midst of doing all of that. We didn't have a whole lot of time, but I have served in boards, leadership Hillsborough in Florida. I was a board member. I've served in boards of homeowners associations. I was president of our current homeowners association for a few years, stepped down to serving council. I was a planning and zoning commission of Fairview for 10 years before I ran for council. I'm also a member of Chi Epsilon Honor Society and civil engineers. And what I like to do for Fairview is to continue to apply my knowledge in engineering, and particularly in drainage and land development. And also the fact that I served as district engineer for some freshwater supply districts, which is basically public entities that finance infrastructure. So with that, Ricardo Doy, I'm running for re-election in C3. Thank you.
The question for Ricardo Doy is, what are your long-term recommendations for the town of Fairview which would enhance our tax base and reduce our tax rate?
Okay, fair enough. That's a good question. I think everybody talks about taxes and nobody wants to see tax raises. I think if you look at successful cities throughout the country, you see that there's a healthy mix of residential development and also commercial development or retail or mixed use. Residential development historically does not bring the necessary tax base to provide and support all the services in town. So with that, what I would like to see is full development of the commercial plan development district, which is a CPDD, generally the area west of Highway 5. And that's an area that a long time ago was decided to be an area that would support those types of businesses. And by the way, I know that entitlements were mentioned here in terms of apartments. That's pretty important because in order to sustain a planned development district like that, you need to have a healthy mix of residential and commercial. The CPDD is no different. And as it turns out, the 2,000 apartments was actually not a number or a pie in the sky. It was actually studied, and it was actually by design. The town council at the time hired a company called Mesa Design Group, which is a planning group, and they studied the components of that planned development district. And apartments is a subset or subzoning of that district. And by the way, that's entitlement. It doesn't mean that somebody will build 2,000 apartments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is Ricardo Doy. That's seat number 3. But he will be alone on the ballot for seat number 3. Oh, well, he won't be alone, excuse me, he's the one with Jeanette. But as I said, Jeanette is not operating, not campaigning. But he would have been, so you will see the two names on the ballot. Okay. The next one, our own Ken Logston. I say our own because he lives here, in case some of you don't know. And he is running in seat number 5, unopposed.
Unopposed.
We need your background. We need your
It's been
background.
my pleasure to serve the last 2 years, not just Heritage Ranch, but the town of Fairview. I appreciate all of you who voted for me the first time, in spite of the fact that I've only been in Texas for 37 years. I've only been in Fairview for a little over 5, but you know, I'm a successful refugee from the worst run state, well, one of the worst run states in the country, Illinois. I got out while the getting was good. It wasn't a total loss, though. I grew up in a very small town, rural town. If anybody ever heard of the town of Arthur, Illinois, the second question they asked me was, "Are you Amish?" I'm not, but that's the only reason you would ever heard of Arthur. But I did learn a work ethic there. There weren't any really rich people in Arthur, you know, so we had to work for what we got, work my way through college, and this is background for those of you who don't know me, but I'm not a native Texan, but I got here as quick as I could. I've really learned a lot working with the people on the council the last 2 years and the staff of the town. I say it every time I'm up here, you've got a lot to be proud of for our town government. A lot of selfless and dedicated people involved. And that goes for the mayor and the council as well. I thank you again for having me the last 2 years. You don't really get a say in this 2 years. I'm going to be there anyway, but I hope to serve you well. Thank you.
One question.
It wasn't supposed to be a test.
That's right. I told him I'd give him a loaded question. No, it isn't. I didn't say that. Okay. Fairview maintains a very respectable police department and fire department. Give a brief assessment of both departments and evaluate or tell us what services you feel are lacking and should be or could be developed in our town.
Thank you, Joan. That was a good question to get right there.
Okay.
Because I can tell you I'm very proud of both those departments. I've got to know the fire chief, the police chief, and several members of their staff. I don't know, this snowmageddon that we talk about where everybody's pipes were freezing, and we had a bunch of that out here. You know, our staff, and this goes to Public Works as well, they went above and beyond. We get a call sheet every month for the fire department, the police department, and those numbers were way up that month because of those 5 days. I looked out my front door and saw water running down the street. My neighbor lady across the street, and just about the time I opened the door, I see our public works director pull up in his personal vehicle, pull out the little device that you go to use to shut the water off, and go turn her water off for her. I think what needs we're going to have are going to be associated with the growth. It's been mentioned we need more staff for additional ambulance services as we grow. It hasn't been identified as a critical need right now, but it is a need that we're going to have to deal with going forward. What else was there? I don't know of any services that need to be improved from the police or fire department, but if you do, I'd sure like to hear about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken Lawson. Once again, seat 5, he will be on the ballot alone. The next and last of our council members, or council candidates, is Rich Connolly. He will be on the ballot in seat number 1, also alone, unopposed. So, Rich, you have 2 minutes to tell us about yourself first.
Okay, thank you. I guess best for last, right? Good evening. My name is Rich Connolly. I'm running unopposed for Town Council seat number 1. That's currently held by Charlie Hinkle. I think Charlie did a great job over the last 2 years, and I thank him for his service to the town. My wife and I, Cheryl, have lived in Oakwood Estates for 22 years, and I've been president of the Oakwood Homeowners Association for the last 5.5 years. I also served as treasurer during the HOA's first few years back when it started in 1998. As HOA president, I have presented support or opposition before town council and planning and zoning on many Fairview issues. I've served on the CRG and supported the 2019 bond for Fire Station 1, and I currently serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. As far as my background, I had a 45-year career as a financial executive with companies such as Ernst & Young in Chicago, so I'm also an Illinois refugee. I came down to Texas to work for Texas Instruments, then moved down to Sterling Software, and then I got into the startup venture capital area where I worked for several successful startups, selling 3 of them for a value of over $200 million. In retirement, I continue to consult with companies on mergers and acquisitions, and I offer part-time services as a chief financial officer. I'm a certified public accountant and hold a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Illinois and a master's degree in finance from the University of Texas at Dallas. There are issues facing Fairview that the town council is addressing, for which I can use my financial executive experience to help. These issues include drainage, which has been mentioned tonight, reliable internet service, keeping taxes low, and doing the smart thing with the build out of the commercial district. I look forward to serving as the residents of Fairview and tackling the issues as a town council member. Thank you.
I have a question for you. This has to do with our town center.
Yes.
Our town center has struggled from its onset, and again with the COVID shutdowns. What are your ideas which would turn this center into, well, I said a thriving success, let's even a success, because it does have some needs. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, from what I know about the town center, a lot of the businesses that are coming in and being attracted to the town center is being done by Lincoln Properties. Our position is through the EDC to keep marketing Fairview as the place to come, to work, to visit, to go to our restaurants, and to buy things in our stores. I think what we can do going forward is continue to support Lincoln Properties in their efforts to bring in new restaurants, new stores, by continuing to market Fairview and attracting those types of businesses to the town center. I also think the new office building that's being built along 75 there will also benefit the town center in that people will be working in that building and need somewhere to go to eat lunch. And I hear that that is the main issue with some of the restaurants, is they need a lunch crowd. So the more that we can get office buildings and people to come to eat lunch at our restaurants, I think that will help improve the town center. The other thing we can do is get our events back online after COVID. You know, the marathon stopped, a lot of the entertainment stopped, and I saw an email tonight that Fairview Town Center is starting with their programs again. So I think that will do a lot to attract outsiders to come and spend money at the town center.
Thank you very much, sir. This will be the end of this section, which is Fairview, and we have yet to come Collin College Board of Trustees. And I'm not sure if the candidates all of the candidates arrived, but I know that we have 3. So would the 3 gentlemen and anyone that is running in this position step up here, please, and you may go back to your nice sociable tables. Thank you all. I think we have some candidates we can be proud of. We'll just take a minute or 2. Yes, thank you. I need to know
Would y'all like me to do some light entertainment or something for you while we're ready? You don't want to hear me sing, I know that. Yeah. Guilty. I'm just drawing a pair of scissors. Just a piece. If you do, remember, we had coffee.
I think we're about ready. So it's my pleasure to present the candidates for Board of Trustee at Collin College. Although I did not attend the college as a serious student, I mean, working towards something serious, I did take classes. I have an awful lot of respect for the local colleges, and certainly for Collin College. They run a multitude of programs, and if you have eyes that see and can read, you know that life is changing, I think I can say, and growing in the realm of Collin College. So maybe this will help us all better understand what it's all about. They certainly fill a great position in our environment and offer to children, grandchildren, and ourselves, as well as other people in the community, to provide really a lot of education for people to fill worthwhile jobs. That's what we need these days after the last year. So we're going to, I have to change this a little bit because each of the gentlemen ahead of us are running for a different place. That's what you call it, right? Not seat. Yeah. And one is place 7. I know that. That's Jim Orr. Bob Collins is place 8. And Andy Hardin place 9. So they are not running against one another. I did know that one of the candidates in opposing was not able to come. I did expect the other 2, but since they're not here, as I always was told, you row with the oars that you have. So we're rowing along. So we'll begin with place 7. And you may stand at the podium or wherever.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first thing I would like you to do is give your self-introduction, including your background and experience that makes you the best candidate. Because incidentally, so the folks know, you will have an opponent on the ballot.
How much is that?
A minute and a half.
I've got my 30, 90, and 120 seconds planned, so know which one to go for.
Wait. We don't want the clock to start until you're ready with the real deal.
No, I'm ready to go. So, hello everybody, thank you for hosting this evening, we really appreciate that. My name is Jim Orr, I'm a 21-year resident of Connolly County. I actually live in Lucas, down the road over here. I'm your current trustee, I'm the board secretary. I'm also a candidate for place 7.
One thing that's important is these races are all countywide. We call it a place, but it doesn't matter. We run for the entire county, from all the way from the south to the north, the east, and the west. So I'm asking you guys to keep Collin College strong, and re-elect me and the other gentleman here. About myself, I grew up on a working farm in northern Wisconsin, the original square mile in the 1860s land grant that my great-great-grandfather and his brothers did. Got generated the work ethic, kind of stole the thunder, but that's okay. It generated the work ethic that really holds true to today. I came down to Texas in 1985 on a full academic scholarship at Texas A&M. Excellent. Then I went and I got my MBA, focused on organizational behavior. But by far the most important thing while I was in College Station is I met this young lady over here. More than 30 years ago, I know she doesn't look that old. We've been married over 30 years, we had 3 kids together, all of whom went through Collin College to some extent. And this is important because Collin College versus going direct to a 4-year degree has actually saved my family over $50,000 in college expenses. Right, that's the value that college brings to this community. About myself a little bit, I'm currently the Senior Vice President of Business Development for a technology company. I manage a global team across 5 continents. And
That's all right, keep going.
Okay, got it.
A few minutes, I mean a few
But
seconds.
the bottom line is that it drives up experience in capital budgeting, planning, strategic planning, organizational behavior, and redistribution. So with that qualifies me to be your trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Since you are not with an opponent on stage, I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions to you.
Please.
And we'll do the same thing to each of you. You'll be getting different questions. Okay?
Yeah, they thought they were lucky and they were going to hear it in advance.
They're not going to piggyback on yours. All right. What is the appropriate role of the Board of Trustees in setting policies such as constitutional open carry and the COVID-19 mask and social distancing that has come under question? What is role of the Board of Trustees?
Okay, so the role of the Board of Trustees is pretty high level, right? So we set the vision and we draft the policies that drive to that vision, manage the budget, the tax rate, and hire and fire the president. You know, that's pretty much what we do for a living. In terms of constitutional carry, that's a state thing. But if you guys don't know, there's another bill in front of the State House, which is a clarification of the Marshall Plan, which Collin College has already voted to implement if this can go all cleaned up, to where we will cooperate with the local law enforcement and actually train some of the folks that volunteer to be marshals on campus. So we take safety very, very seriously in that aspect. In terms of the other policy, what was the second part?
It was the COVID-19 mask and social distancing. Did you factor into that?
Yeah, for sure. So if you remember, it was back last summer, we all got together and had a discussion about what this was going to be. We're slightly different than the ISDs in that we can't tell students to come to campus, right? We offer the courses and then they sign up for the ones they want to go to. So if they want to go to online, they go to online. If they want to go in person, they go in person. But we made a choice in July to continue to stay open and offer in-person classes throughout. And that's because the second question that usually comes up is because not everybody wants to have classes online. Lots of people learn in person. And so we wanted to make sure that we were providing for the entire county. And again, the way we do that is we met as a board, we voted for and gave direction to the president to open the college in the fall for at least a portion of in-person classes.
So you set the policy and they are expected to carry it out?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. I'll give you your next question.
Perfect.
The next one is, in looking ahead to the next 4 years, what recommendations do you have for the future? Incidentally, the gentleman on stage will have some more current analysis of your program, but I want you to look ahead to the next 4 years. What recommendations do you have for the future development of Collin College?
Sure. I think if we had a little bit of a baseline discussion first, some of the things that we've done over the last few years is we've opened new campuses. We opened the campus in Wiley that was largely driven by geography. and we opened one in Salina, also driven by geography in Farmersville, because people couldn't make it to campus in a reasonable amount of time, so people weren't attending from those parts of the county. The other campus that we opened was the technical campus in Allen. If y'all haven't been over to see that, you should go. It is really for trades, so it is HVAC, welding, auto repair, and the like. Because not everybody wants to go and spend a 4-year degree and do what it takes to do that. They'd like to get in the field as soon as they can while trained and taking jobs. The HVAC program, for example, we're working with some local businessmen. Anybody that's in that program already has employment the first day they make it to class. Right? So that's the kind of thing that we're working on. So when we take a look at what comes next, it's the other ones that go along that same line. An expansion of building trades and expansion of direct to workforce training programs. The other part of it is to keep up with the geographical locations, because this county is supposed to double again by 2040, 2045. And just think of what that commute means for the people in Anna and Melissa trying to get to a campus in Andrews. They can't, and they won't. So we need to make sure we continue to provide geographic distribution for the students that are going to be here in the future.
Now, at the same time, could you explain very briefly how you, as a college, you do combine with the high schools, I mean the high school students, as well as the universities, the other higher schools of higher education? Can you say something about that to show the expansion of your services?
Sure. There's been a drastic increase in dual credit for one of them, to where the high school students are getting concurrent credit in the college. It's because it tends to be a better value for our students. It's because Connolly College works so hard with our college partners. When you take a course with us, it transfers to the A&Ms and the Techs and the Austins. As opposed to AP, where if you don't pass the test, you don't get the credit, right? So we work very closely with the schools, and we actually place faculty on campuses. Honestly, my preference is that we have them come to us to get the actual collegiate environment, but we work with them directly. And then the second part is the expansion and making sure we stay in sync with our 4-year partners so that we can do that. So my son, for example, got an associate's degree from college. And he went into Texas A&M as a junior. And by the way, a little right, he got his Aggie ring this week. That's 5 of us. So just that kind of value is something that we need to maintain. The partnerships with our university partners and our partnerships with the high schools, so that we can increase the overall value for the residents of Connolly County.
Thank you very much, but one more thing. You have 1 minute to appeal for the vote. You do have a candidate on the ballot.
Yes, we do indeed. We do indeed. So, I mean, really, Connolly College currently delivers a really good value. It's high value, low cost. We've got the lowest tuition in the state, the second lowest tax rate in the state for community colleges. We want to keep this strong. The board has to continue to focus on our strategy to meet this incredible growth. I mean, as our trustee, it's our job to manage at an executive level and provide the policy level guidance that ensures Connolly College will continue to be the excellent resource you know. I've got the skills and the background to continue being your trustee. This is not a place to learn executive management. If you don't have that experience already, you're not going to do well, right? Because it's a complicated, large-scale organization. So when you take a look at who we are, that's what I bring to the table. And one last pitch. In our race, roughly 40% of the overall voters that go out in the county don't vote in our race, they skip it. And y'all say, no, we vote. Yeah, 20% of this precinct didn't vote in our race last time. So what we're asking you guys to do is go all the way down to the end of the ballot and take a look at the 3 of us, myself, Bob, and Andy, and cast that 1 additional vote, and tell your friends to do so as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I saw it. Thank you. Sorry.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, we're back. place 7. Now we have place 8, Bob Collins.
Thank you, Joan.
Yes, and you have 1.5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Let me first introduce my wife, Claudia, sitting right back here. I've had my eyes on her since she was 15 years old. My name is Bob Collins, and I'm a candidate for re-election to place 8 on the Connolly College Board of Trustees. My prior public service included Plano City Council and Mayor Pro Tem, the Collin County Central Appraisal District Board. Last year I served on the Economic Recovery Task Force that the county judge named. And my most important public service has been Connolly College Board of Trustees since the college was founded in 1985. So I've had a good term of duty, and it's been a great project to be involved with. My prior work was with the Fortune 500 defense company headquartered here in Dallas. I was a corporate officer with that company. And I've been a teacher since 1920, a faculty member since 2000, really, 1998, 2000, at Texas A&M University of Commerce, where I teach management. Taught a little bit of engineering, but management. My education includes PhD in engineering and an MBA. And I currently work as an adjunct professor for Texas A&M University of Commerce in the management department, College of Business. I am a real believer in accessibility for the college. And we've worked very hard to try, since we started the college, to try to make sure that we get every student, as much as possible in this county, easy access to a higher education if they can get it. And you can see that with the way that we've been developing campuses around the county and the things that are going on there. So I'll address them more of that in just a little bit.
Thank you. And now your first question. Collin College, as we've already heard, and we do know this, has undergone considerable expansion and accessibility to different locations in the county. Analyze its current ability to prepare its students for the needs of the 21st century. In other words, we don't want to operate in the past. We're looking for, are you doing it in the future?
Yes, that's the challenge you always have in higher education is, and I know I see it in my own courses, when I'm trying to teach management students the principles of management. For instance, I'm teaching a strategy course right now, trying to teach business strategy. And keeping up with what's going on in the business world is difficult to do too. So we struggle with that all the time in reality, trying to make sure our courses are pertinent to what we're trying to do. Now the other thing that goes on there too, you need to be aware of, we have to be accredited in what we do. So we have accrediting agencies that monitor all of our degrees and our programs to make sure that we're current with what we're trying to teach there as well. So it's a continuing struggle. Every person who's in here who is a faculty member or has been a faculty member know that you struggle with making sure that you've got the content in the course that's pertinent for today.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Before this audience, or any audience of taxpayers, what can you say as a member of the Board of Trustees to assure us that our tax rate for Collin, do you foresee that the tax rate for Collin College will be reduced?
Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to reduce it some. Excuse me a second. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to reduce it some. In 2017, the voters of Collin County approved a $600 million bond issue for the college. We needed that $600 million to expand our campuses so that we're covering the entire county. With the onset of the campus in Farmersville and the campus in Salina, we now have one area left to cover in Collin County. That's the northern part of the county. And we're working that issue right now. So from a tax standpoint, we would like to reduce taxes for sure. So as we begin to pay down the debt, as we move forward in the future, we'll probably move that tax rate down a little bit. I can't say when it's going to happen, but I'll give you an example. When you guys voted to approve the bond issue in 2017, we were not able to sell bonds for about a year. And so for that year, we lowered the tax rate by almost $0.01. That was for 1 year. Now the problem we got ourselves into, we knew this was going to happen. When we had to go back up to support the selling of the bonds, we got some complaints about that. But we went back up to where we were at 0.8122 cents at that point in time. We haven't increased that rate for a long time.
Okay, thank you. One more question. What is the current COVID-19 mask policy in Collin College? Why or why not should it be changed?
Well, let me just say that all of our COVID policies for the college have been consistent with what the government recommendations are. So we've done that from the very start. In fact, we started the mask a week before the government decided we should have masks. And what will happen as we move forward is that the mask policy will be relaxed as we move forward. How that's going to be relaxed, I don't know right now, but the president and his staff will decide on that. So we have done everything from a COVID standpoint in accordance with what the government and CDC directives are. We've done that. We've made sure that we've done that. We clean our buildings. We spent about $3 million putting in new air handlers in all the buildings to take virus out of the air. We did all of those things, and we're still doing that. Now, I don't know what the mask policy is going to be tomorrow or next week or the month after, but we'll be consistent with what government policy is.
And now the last part, 1 minute to make your closing statement, because you too will have an opponent.
Yes. No, it's not that I will have an opponent, I do have an opponent. Well, see, going forward, I'm going to come back to where I was a moment ago. The issue that has been kind of the driving issue for me over the years is accessibility. I want to make sure that we have as low a cost as possible, which Jim's already talked about the fact that we have very low tax rate and very low tuition. In fact, I think the lowest tuition in the state. We're always number one or number two from year to year, depending on what year it is. But I want to make sure that we have accessibility. We're working gradually toward that. We opened with a full-size campus in Wiley. We've got the big technical center in Allen. We're beginning campuses in Farmersville and Salina to cover the eastern and the northwestern part of the county. Now we got to move west, and so we'll be doing that in the near future. Identifying some property there and identifying a time frame for when we can develop the campuses there. We want to make sure that everybody has access. I haven't mentioned this before, but we also have our own wide area network that we own. So super high bandwidth network that connects all of our college campuses together. And so we can do some teaching like that from a remote standpoint.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Now I won't say, maybe the last is the best to come, right, Andy Hardin? Okay, and Andy Hardin will be running in place number 9.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so you have a minute and a half to introduce yourself. Tell us about you first.
Well, first of all, I want to thank y'all. It's always fun to come back here, and I've been here before, and it is very nice, and I appreciate your hospitality. My name is Andy Hardin. I've only served on the board 9 years now, not like Dr. Collins, but I have been here a long time. I don't know how many people in here were born in Collin County, but I was born in McKinney a long time ago, and have lived my whole life here. I lived the first 50 years in McKinney, and I plan on living the second 50 years in Frisco, where I live now with my wife Amy in the back. Amy Wade, yeah, appropriate Wade, Princess Wade, whatever. But it is a great opportunity to serve, and so I've been blessed by being elected several times to several different positions. I served 4 years in the McKinney City Council a long time ago, and then I was selected by then Governor George W. Bush to serve on the State Board of Mental Health and Mental Retardation. I did that for 7 years. When he got the nomination, he selected me and made me the chairman of that board, and I traveled the state, in every state school and state hospital in the state of Texas. Now I live in Frisco with Amy. I have 2 great kids and 2 better grandkids, and I've got the pictures to prove it if you need me to show them.
Thank you, sir. And keep close to the microphone because it doesn't carry too far if you're back. All right, the first question that I have for you. We've heard about the tremendous growth of Collin College, but this is a slightly different slant. How can the Board of Trustees guarantee a quality education for your students? You spread out so much, so wide and so tall.
Well, guarantee is an awful big word. It's kind of like ever or never or those kinds of words I don't use. And so I think we'd have a hard time guaranteeing that you're going to do it, but I can look in the eye and say, I absolutely believe it's going to happen. We have built on now 36 years of success at College. And I love to take credit for everything the people before me did, but they did a fantastic job. And the biggest challenge I think we've always had is how do we keep that quality? There are just tons of things going on in College. I guarantee I could spend the next hour in here talking about it, but I won't do that. But a guarantee is a word I just don't want to use because I just don't like making promises I can't keep, and I'm not entirely in charge of everything. But I can tell you what College is all about is success. That is how we're judged by the state, and I think there's no doubt that we do a great job.
Thank you. And the next question that you have, I'm not implying there are any weaknesses in your system, but the best organization has room for improvement. So that's where I'm going. What do you see as areas of concern within College's learning climate or course programs? They may not even be concerns, but maybe need a little improvement. What do you recommend as a fix?
Concerns are probably a good word. I think if you're not looking at your weakest points, you're going to overlook things that need to be improved. To me, the biggest challenge is always how do we keep the success that we've already had? Also, things change. I was at a forum, I don't know, we've been to 23 forums, so I can't remember which one. Somebody asked me something about security, and I said, well, if you're asking me about security today, it's different than if you asked me about security 13 months ago. Because we didn't anticipate in February of last year the pandemic. And so you have to be cognizant of what things might happen. And so that's the thing I look at is what changes are there going to be? We have learned a lot during the pandemic of ways to provide education in different ways than we did before. We had online learning before, but we have learned a lot more about how to do it. As Jim said, everybody doesn't want to have education the same way. It is tough to teach HVAC to people online. And so those classes have to be done in person. And there's just a variety of things that I think the board has to look at and think about as we move forward. How can we continue to improve, and how can we provide the needs of the students now or in the future that the people of the future will need? We have the technical campus in Allen is a fantastic campus if you haven't been there. When the college first started, it was really looking at itself as a 2-year college, preparing everyone to go into a 4-year college. But not everybody needs a 4-year degree. And so we look at the technical campus as a way that we've adapted and changed things so that people can get good jobs and not have to all do it the same way. The same thing, whether we deliver education that way or whatever. They got me when they told me a welder could make $100,000 a year. And I asked Amy if I could retrain to become a welder. She said, "You're too old."
One other quick question. I don't know how quick you can make this, but I'll ask it anyway. I don't even know what your policy is. Should College require all College students to receive COVID-19 vaccine shots? Why or why not?
I don't know that we could if we wanted to. And so that's one of those things about wearing masks. We have adopted the rules set by bodies above us that tell us how to do things. You asked a question earlier about guns. You know, when people ask us sometime about guns on campus and that kind of stuff, I guarantee you, we'd like to make some decisions, but those decisions were made in Austin with so tight that there's no decisions we can make. Your school districts have the same issues at times. The bodies above them make decisions that they make those things, and so sometimes entities have very little change that they can make if they want to. But I'm happy that College is structured the way that they can. Some people ask about, well, do you want to become a four-year school? We are a four-year school now. But one of the problems with becoming a four-year school under the state system is we would no longer be here. The people in Collin County wouldn't elect us, and we would be dependent upon the state providing us all the money. We like getting the money from our taxpayers because that way you have a body that looks at it and somebody close to home is managing it for you and making sure that it's spent well.
Thank you very much, sir. Your last comment, 1 minute. Ask for our vote.
Vote for me.
That is place number 9. Place, do I have a right sheet? Place 8. And Andy Hardin, place 9. Thank you very much. Now, remember to vote. Okay, go back to sleep.
Good guy right there.
One thing, I didn't know if anyone else was going to say this, but most of us, because it's close to home, vote down Country Club Road into the Lovejoy School administration. That's not open. You can't vote there, so don't go there to vote. Neither early or the day. So I know our club has published it. I'm looking for it. Has published the, do you know offhand? I do know the municipal building in Allen, right? Tell me more. Well, okay, the municipal.
Lucas Community Center is close.
So you have to go riding down?
The best place for you to find that information and find a sample ballot and a list of the candidates is on the Republican Club website. All of that stuff is listed there so that you can vote. And yes, please vote all the way down the ballot. Now I'm going to say something. I'm going to speak for the 3 candidates that were not here for Collin College. Don't vote for them.
We're about to end this. Dr. Barnes is from our marketing team. He's going to have the final presentation. I was going to ask Clayton to do his Joe Biden routine. We've got 5 steps here. I thought maybe
That's okay, Jack didn't want me to make a fool of him. This is real scientific, and this is a small pool of people who have registered on the web page and have registered as members only. It's easy to register, and the one good thing about it is you get a small group of drawing to get this. So, the first prize of the drawing is going to be no other than Helga. And I know she's a gardener and she likes to buy plants. So here is a card for Home Depot. Now, on the back of your ticket, there is a number. And if you would look at that number, and I'm going to call it out, I'm going to let Gail pull out a ticket. Okay. So, if anyone left and they have this number, guess what? Too bad. Okay, the number is 215-2992. I'm sorry, 922. Last three numbers, 922. The whole number is 215-2922. They just missed a Cheesecake Factory. Before I read this, there's a great addition that was added to the website last week. And any of you in here who happen to know Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, there's a great illustration on there. It's got the music and it's got a story about Argentina. And it's crossed out, instead of Argentina, it says, Don't Cry for Me, America. My point is, we're here to make that change. We're here to work for our values, our individual rights that are being taken away from us on a daily basis. So we're proud to be strong conservative Republicans. So go to the website, look at it. We're getting good hits on it. We're trying to make it more robust that everyone will be able to use and be able to get all the information. If you don't know a question about any of the elections or any of the political activity that's going on, go there. There's lots of information. And with that, the number is, drum roll, 215-2887. $887 is the last three numbers.
There could be some dead ones.
Okay, this is a dead one. Go ahead, Taylor. $900. Oh, George. There you go, George. Cheesecake Factory.
Folks, if I don't say another word, we're going to get out of here at 8:30, which was our scheduled time. So have a great evening. Please put your name in at the back, so we will have them for the next meeting. Thank you. Have a great evening.